What if the life you've been told to live, study hard, get a good job, work your way up, was never designed to make you financially free? What if the very system you trust is the reason so many people spend their entire lives working and still never feel secure? And what if the rich aren't smarter than you, but simply playing a completely different game? This is not just a book. This is a shift in perspective.
The beginning of a different thinking. Robert Kiyosaki grew up with two very different influences in his life. Two father figures. Both were hardworking. Both were intelligent. Both wanted the best for him. But their thinking about money was completely opposite. One believed in education, stability, and job security. He followed the traditional path that most people respect. He studied hard, earned degrees, and worked in a stable government job. Yet despite doing everything right, money always seemed to be a struggle. Bills were constant, stress was normal, and financial freedom always felt just out of reach. The other father figure had a completely different approach. He didn't focus on job security. He didn't follow the traditional path. Instead, he focused on understanding money. Not just earning it, but controlling it. Not just working for it, but making it work for him. And over time, the results spoke for themselves. One kept working harder as life went on. The other became freer with time. And as a child, Robert found himself standing between two worlds, two belief systems, two futures. The invisible trap. As he grew older, he started noticing a pattern that almost everyone around him was following, without even questioning it. People wake up early, rush to work, spend most of their day earning money, and at the end of the month, that money disappears. Rent, bills, loans, expenses. Then the cycle starts again, day after day, month after month, year after year. And strangely, this cycle is accepted as normal. No one stops to ask, why does it feel like I'm always working but never getting ahead? The answer is not simple, because the trap is not physical, it's mental. People are not just working for money, they are reacting to emotions. Fear pushes them to keep their jobs even if they're unhappy. Greed pushes them to want more, so when they earn more, they spend more. In between fear and desire, they stay stuck. Not because they're weak, but because they were never taught another way. The moment everything changes. At some point, something inside Robert begins to shift. Instead of just accepting what he sees, he starts questioning it. He begins to look at money differently, not as something you chase, but something you understand. And that's when he realizes something powerful. Most people are not poor because they don't earn enough. They're poor because of how they think about money. Because no matter how much you earn, if you don't understand how money works, you will always be dependent on it. And dependency is the opposite of freedom. Seeing what others don't see. As his perspective changes, he starts noticing things that most people ignore. He sees people buying things that make them look successful, but quietly make them financially weaker. He sees people increasing their lifestyle instead of increasing their financial strength. He sees people chasing comfort while unknowingly creating pressure. And he realizes something uncomfortable. What society calls success is often just a more expensive version of struggle. A bigger house, but bigger payments. A nicer car, but more financial pressure. A higher salary, but less time and more stress. From the outside, it looks like progress, but from the inside, it often feels like a trap. A different way of thinking. The other father figure shows him something simple, but life-changing. He teaches him to stop looking at money emotionally and start looking at it logically. To stop asking, what can I buy, and start asking, what is this doing to my financial future? That one shift changes everything. Because once you start thinking like that, your decisions begin to change. You become more aware, more intentional, more in control. You stop chasing quick rewards and start focusing on long-term results. And slowly, you begin to step out of the cycle that traps most people. The difference between motion and progress. One of the most powerful realizations in this journey is this: being busy does not mean you are moving forward. Most people are constantly active, working, planning, doing, but very few are actually building something that grows over time. Because true progress is not about how hard you work today, it's about whether your effort creates something that continues to work for you tomorrow. And that's where the real difference begins. Some people spend their entire lives trading time for money. Others spend time building systems that eventually give them time back. At first, both look similar, but over years, their lives become completely different. Time, the real currency. As Robert continues to learn, he realizes something deeper. Money is important, but time is more valuable. Because money can be earned again, time cannot. And yet most people spend their entire lives giving away their time in exchange for money, without ever asking, is this leading me towards freedom or just survival? That question becomes a turning point, because once you start valuing time, you begin to make different decisions. You start thinking beyond the next paycheck, beyond the next expense, beyond the next month. You begin to think in years, in systems, in growth. The internal shift. At its core, this journey is not about external change. It's about internal transformation. It's about moving from reacting to thinking, consuming to building, fear to awareness. And this shift is not instant. It takes time, because you are not just changing your actions, you are changing the way you see the world, and that is never easy. Breaking free from the norm. One of the hardest parts of this journey is going against what feels normal, because society rewards certain behaviors, stability, predictability, following the path, and questioning that path can feel uncomfortable, even risky. But growth has always required discomfort, and those who are willing to think differently are often the ones who create different outcomes. The silent difference. Over time, the gap between the two ways of thinking becomes clearer. One life is filled with constant effort but limited progress. The other starts slowly but builds momentum over time. And eventually, that momentum becomes freedom. Not overnight, not instantly, but gradually and silently. In the end, this story is not really about two fathers. It's about two choices, two paths, two ways of thinking. One where you spend your life chasing money, and one where you build something that gives you control over it. And the difference between the two is not luck, it's awareness. Because the truth is, financial freedom is not about how much you earn, it's about how you think. And the moment that changes, everything else begins to follow. If this changed the way you see money, make sure you subscribe, because the next idea you learn might change your life forever.